But let's move on and actually go across to Shireen, who is addressing the 98th FICCI annual meeting as well. Over to you, Shireen.
Past presidents, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, a very good afternoon. It is an honor to welcome you all to this special session with the senior leadership of the Government of India. We are privileged to have with us Sri Rajesh Kumar Singh, Secretary, Ministry of Defence, Sri Devesh Chaturvedi, Secretary, Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare, Sri A.P. Das Joshi, Secretary, Ministry of Food Processing Industries, Sri Rajesh Agarwal, Secretary, Ministry of Commerce and Industry, Sri Amardeep Singh Bhatia, who will be joining us very soon, and our moderator, Ms. Shireen Bhan. Friends, India stands today at a defining moment in its economic journey. Across sectors from defense, electronics and automotive to pharmaceuticals and food processing, Make in India and Atmanirbhar Bharat are accelerating industrial transformation and job creation. Our achievement in digital public infrastructure have enhanced service delivery and financial inclusion at a scale unmatched globally, becoming a powerful platform for productivity and innovation. As we work towards the aspiration of a globally competitive and self-reliant India, it is crucial that government and industry continues to move forward together with clarity, ambition, and speed. The policy priorities we pursue today will shape India's trajectory for decades to come. In that context, today's session, from challenges to competitiveness, policy priorities for sustaining high growth, is both timely and important. We look forward to hearing from our esteemed secretaries who are at the forefront of shaping India's economic direction and to aligning industry efforts with national priorities. I now hand over to Ms. Shireen to begin this crucial dialogue. Thank you so much.
Very much. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for joining us here this afternoon. It is a privilege and an honor to be back here at the FICCI Annual General Meeting. I've always had the privilege of being able to host a show with the whole of government, all the secretaries representing the government of India, and it is an honor to be back here to do exactly the same. I won't go through the introductions again because you already know who I'm going to be speaking to. As was articulated at the start of the program, the idea really is to delve into each sector, to ask each secretary what the year has shaped up to be, but more importantly, what the outlook is as we look at 2026 and beyond. If I were to do a dipstick survey here in the room, I think the number one question that everybody wants an answer to is, when will the India-US BTA happen? And I know all fingers on this panel will point in one direction towards Mr. Rajesh Agarwal, the Commerce Secretary. That's just one of the issues that we intend to talk about here this afternoon. We've got an eminent set of guests. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, because there's plenty to talk about, let's get started. Mr. Agarwal, the very first question to you. As I said, the number one question that everyone's asking today is, the expectation was that by the end of November, by fall, we would have an inking, a signing of the India-US BTA. Where are things currently on that front, Mr. Agarwal?
Hello. Yeah, thank you, Shireen. I think there was a commitment to see that the first tranche of India-US BTA is completed by fall of this 2025. However, things have changed and moved a lot from 13th February onwards. When we got into a BTA negotiations, we were on the path to deliver a good aspirational first tranche by the fall of 2025. But in between, we have found a lot of changes in the global trade landscape. One of the key has been in the US landscape, where we came out with reciprocal tariffs which were imposed on all the trading partners in order to see that the trade deficit with the trading partners can be evened out, and also maybe overall create a revenue stream for the government of United States. So with that new change in the overall landscape, the BTA has also gone through some articulation, some changes, wherein right now we are engaged with not only negotiating a bilateral trade agreement, which definitely with a country like United States will take a lot of time, because trade agreements are very wide-ranging agreements these days with a lot of issues, not only market access issues, which are negotiated under the umbrella. But at the same time, we are also engaged in a protracted negotiations on a framework trade deal, which will try to address the reciprocal tariff challenge that the Indian exporters today face. So these are two separate parallel negotiations going on, but one will feed into the other. What needs to come first is the framework trade deal, which is able to address the reciprocal tariffs. We have engaged on it for last few months very deeply with the US teams, and I think all I can say that we are close. We have tried to iron out most of the issues. Now it is only matter of time when this decision has to be taken, that when the two countries have to find the right landing zone to announce the deal. So that is where we stand as of now. Thank you.
Some clarity, sir, on where things currently stand as far as the negotiations with the US are concerned. And it's important that you've highlighted for us that there are two parallel negotiations underway. One, of course, is for the bilateral trade agreement, and the other is to deal with the reciprocal tariffs, the framework that you spoke of. Is the hope that the framework to address the reciprocal tariffs will perhaps be done in this calendar year, sir? Is that the expectation? Is that the hope that you're working with? And have the outstanding issues, especially when it comes to market access, when it comes to the US's concerns on India buying from Russia and so on and so forth, does the US now feel that India has addressed some of those concerns that they raised?
I think our expectations, we are very optimistic and very hopeful that we should find a solution within this calendar year. But as you know, with any trade negotiations, the final deadlines cannot be, because even if there is one sticking point or one sticking issue which is in the mind of even one of the partners, the trade deal may not meet that deadline. Having said that, I think the overall position is well set to deliver it in next few weeks or months as soon as we can. But let's see, it's a call that will have to be taken at multiple levels. At the levels of negotiator, I think we are in a zone where we can say it is something that we can achieve in a very short while of time. There's not much to negotiate. There are very few issues, and that can be taken. The political call needs to be taken on some of them. And having said that, also as a country, we have always stood for our own sensitivities and our own uniqueness. So there are areas which are non-negotiables from our perspective. And that I think people, the countries which have negotiated deals with us are very clear that what are the things that India is not open to negotiate or not able to commit or bring to the table because of our unique nature of our economy, the way we are poised and the sensitivities that we do have in our economy. So those remain negotiable, whether it is any agreement, including the one with United States. Thank you.
You know, Commerce Secretary, I know that we cannot speculate beyond a point on the timing itself, but I just want to understand on the framework per se. As and when there is an understanding on both sides to go through with it, would that automatically mean that there would be a reversal of the 50% tariffs that have been imposed on India?
The assumption is that a trade deal will be beneficial for Indian exports only when there will be addressal of both 25% tariffs, not only the one which is a trade tariff which has been imposed on trade in lieu of the lack of trade deal, but also the other 25% tariff which have been imposed for some other geopolitical reasons. Until unless both are addressed together, it will not mean a meaningful deal for India. So we understand whenever the deal is finalized and signed and agreed to by the both sides, I think both these 25% will stand.
Are talks still on, sir, or have talks concluded?
The talks are still on, and it is because these are two negotiations also. There's a larger one also which is going on. So talks are on. Our teams are engaging virtually on a regular basis. There are virtual sessions every week on some issue or other. So there is an engagement. Are you
going to be visiting the US anytime soon, or are they going to be visiting us anytime soon?
Let's wait for some time. You may see the visits can happen either way. Whether we visit them or they visit us. They were in pretty lockdown for some time, 45 days or so. Now they are out of lockdown. So we expect some visits from their side also in the near future.
So on the BTA, sir, and I don't want to make this just about the US, but one final question on this before I get the other secretaries back, and then I'll come back to you. But on the BTA, are negotiations done? Are negotiations still underway, even as far as the BTA is concerned? And what's the broad timeline for the BTA? Because this is separate from the BTA.
I think VTA will take some time. It's quite an expansive. VTA is like a free trade agreement, and it will take a lot of time. And especially with the change dynamics, where you have got reciprocal tariffs in the play, which are beyond the MFN tariffs that each country do have. I think we'll need to find pathway for complete elimination of reciprocal tariff in our process of doing BTA. So I think that will take a bit of time, and we'll not hurry up those. We are working on various aspects of BTA, but let the first one come first, and then we'll see what are the timelines that we put for the BTA. Thank you.
Okay, that's a very, very clear comment coming in from the Commerce Secretary. BTA is likely to take longer. What the government is hoping for is to get the framework in place, a package, so to speak, to address the issue of reciprocal tariffs. And the hope is that you'll get that done in a second. But Agriculture Secretary, let me come to you, sir. And of course, part of that non-negotiable list that he's dealing with also involves the agriculture sector. But let's talk about what the year has shaped up to be for the sector. We've had rains, we've had floods, and that has impacted both yield as well as crop productivity. The year gone by, but more importantly, the year ahead. What's your sense on agri-growth?
So, as you must have read in the newspapers that the 24-25 final estimates were released. And the special feature of those release was that there's a bumper harvest of food grains, bumper harvest of oil seeds, and bumper harvest of horticulture in 24-25, which was obviously supported by a good monsoon, but also because of the fact that a lot of research has gone to the land in terms of better seeds, better infrastructure, availability of inputs. In 25-26, of course, overall the monsoon was very good. It was above normal. There were very few areas of deficit, but there were some areas of excess rainfall and also floods. And we know that there were many states where the floods were quite devastating in some areas. So that has sort of reduced the quality of produced and also productivity in those particular areas. But overall, the coverage has been okay. And what we expect is, because of the fact that now the reservoirs are full, there's a good moisture in the soil because of heavy rains. The Rabi is progressing very satisfactorily, and whatever little bit dip which would have caused because of floods and other sorts of disasters in Kharif or the monsoon season will be more than offset in Rabi, and we will have good crop overall in the country. And that is also being reflected in the way inflation is moving, especially the food inflation, which is now more or less stable, very stable, and at times it becomes negative also.
Yes, we have seen that happen. So you don't anticipate any spike as far as food inflation is concerned?
Not at least in the next 6 months, we can predict that.
Not over the next 6 months, and that's good to hear. We've got the budget coming up, sir, and I think everybody's sending in their wish list to the Finance Ministry and to the Finance Minister. What is yours?
See, I can only say that one of the biggest wish list of the Agriculture Ministry and the stakeholders of agriculture was the GST, which was not, of course, part of the budget, but it was a part of the reform process. And the way the GST reforms which were announced and implemented last 2 months ago, they have really changed the way agriculture is now, inputs are being now procured by farmers. The reduction has been, the good thing was that this reduction in GST in micro-irrigation, mechanization has been passed on to the consumer. And therefore, we are seeing a boost in the demand for mechanization and for other products, and which will help the agriculture sector in the long run.
So growth estimates for the agriculture
yes,
sector?
we can say the growth of these sectors will be high because of increased consumption, led by of course, the general prosperity, the surplus incomes which will be available, and also the reduction in prices of these commodities or these implements and equipments.
I'll come back to you for more specifics in just a second, but let me get the Defense Secretary into the conversation. Sir, thanks very much for joining us. While we're dealing with the US, we're also having to deal with Russia, and that's part, I would imagine, of the dialogue and discussion that you're going to have next week. President Putin is going to be here. The expectation is, will India further deepen its bilateral arrangement in the defense sector with Russia? Let me start by addressing that issue with you. Should we expect any announcements, any deals between India and Russia on the defense side?
Even if there were, I'm not going to announce them here. So nice try. But as you know, Shireen, we have a lot of legacy equipment from the Russians, and maintenance and support. And even there are also some orders like the S-400s where they've been delivered partly. So obviously all of that will be on the table. In terms of new announcements, I will not be able to sort of mention those, but our defense cooperation with Russia is of long standing. They've been our friends through both fair and foul weather, and we are not going to sort of stop our defense cooperation with them anytime soon. But I do want to stress that India follows a policy of strategic autonomy. Items that we need from the Russians, we will, of course, buy, and to the extent possible, not only buy, but also make in India. From the Americans also, there are certain specific types of equipment that we need. And over the last 10 years or so, we've done almost $30 billion worth of purchases from the US as well. So we are diversifying our equipment suppliers. But more than anything else, we are trying to ensure that we increasingly do our spend the bulk of our money within the country. Last year, out of 2 lakh crores of contract signings that we did, 1.33 lakh crores, almost 88% was with domestic suppliers, both PSUs and private. That trend will continue. It will never go below 75%. Big global buys will be there, but they will be exceptions rather than the norm.
Well, several things there that I want to pick up on and get specifics from you. Let me start with the indigenization program, because as you pointed out, it will continue to be something that you prioritize and will be part of the government's efforts going forward as well. When can we expect the next list as far as indigenization is concerned, sir?
So the positive indigenization list that we currently have on has about 509 odd items, out of which about 50% of those are already have been indigenized. The next one will be out shortly from the Department of Military Affairs. In general, the intent is to, depending on the TRL level, you try to do entirely within India, the production and the design. In certain cases, you will rely on technology transfers and then make in India. And there will be some rare cases where you will do either imports or you do a small chunk of purchase from outside, as we did for the C-295s, and at least assemble or produce the rest of them in India. These are the three broad categories on which we'll work. But as I said, 3/4, 75% of that will be almost entirely make in India.
So since we're talking about make in India, and I want to understand from you whether we should expect joint manufacturing, especially in the context of the India-US defense partnership, in terms of that partnership deepening. Is that an expectation that we should have, that there could be joint manufacturing? That's an expectation on some, for instance, for the S-400, even when we talk about Russia. Are these realistic expectations to have?
So far, the bulk of our production in the past has been what we call licensed production, which is largely from Russian OEMs. Most recently, we've got one production ongoing where the final assembly line of the C-295 military transport aircraft is being done within the country, Airbus and Tata's together. With the Americans, largely we've relied on imports. In certain cases, for example, for the light combat aircraft, we've taken the engines from the General Electric. With the Americans, I would imagine the chances are of initially getting them in through MROs and then thereafter perhaps moving into production. In other areas, we will probably do with other suppliers like the French and the Russians. I see more chances of doing co-production, joint ventures, etc. But in general, as I said, foreign OEMs will have to get used to the fact that most of our money will be spent within the country, and if they want to get a share of that pie, they will have to do joint ventures here and co-produce here.
And co-produce here, but unlikely to be the case when we talk about the US specifically. I'll come to you, sir, in just a second, but I want to come back to the Commerce Secretary just to pick up on what we heard there from the Defense Secretary. Sir, defense and the kind of arrangement, agreement, deals that are likely to happen between India and the US, how much are all of these aspects weighing on this framework that you're currently negotiating? How much of what is happening in the oil ministry by way of that CNG contract, which is a historic first between India and the US, weighing on this framework to address the reciprocal tariff?
I think.
Go ahead, sir.
Hello. Yeah, I think India-US relationship, if you look at over last 2 decades, it has only gone strength by strength. So our relationship is across in all economic sectors, whether it's defense, energy, trade. We are there. People to people connect, the diaspora. I think the overall strength that this relationship has got over last 2 decades is all going to weigh in this relationship. And that's why you will find that in spite of the fact that India and US has not been able to strike a deal, which was expected early on till now.
Which was expected to be the first deal.
Yeah, but still, you will see the trade between the two countries have not gone down. Still, if you look at our trade, our exports to US, we are still, this calendar year, $10 billion up than last year. So we're still doing better. I think there's a lot of positivity between our businesses on both sides. Still there, you're seeing a lot of positive movements on all other aspects of economic engagement because there is a lot of synergy. There's a lot of positive energy in this relationship. The deal has not happened, that's a fact. But outside that, I think a lot of things are happening which will all weigh down on this relationship because any relationship or any aspect or any work need not be seen in an isolation. But they whole form a part of the entire relationship that India and US form. So whatever we are doing together, I think this will all be part of the entire relationship that we see 20 years down the line. That is how we look at it. Deal may not have those aspects as such. They will not be negotiated as a part of the framework deal. But these all things, I think, goes on to say that this is one deal that world needs, India, US need to have together.
Yes, so directionally and intentionally, you're making India's position clear in terms of where we could perhaps move forward. Let's understand what's happening as the food processing side, sir. One of the successful PLI schemes under your ministry. What's the expectation now, given the experience that you've had with the PLI scheme? Should we expect another incentive scheme? Is that necessary or warranted today?
Thank you very much. So far as PLI you have asked, food processing sector has done fairly well in the PLI on any account, whether we see the investment or the growth or the export or the employment. So on all the fronts, we have done very well and we will be very happy. In fact, we are working on it, whether we can have, the next round of PLI for the food processing at least, or for the sectors where we have done well in the PLI.
So that's a demand that you would like to put forward, that you believe that there is a need, a requirement for a second PLI scheme?
I feel that there is a demand because if we see the first round of PLI, we could not cover the, different sectors. So there are few sectors which are left out. There are few, companies or few verticals which were left out. So we feel that there is a need and we will articulate our demand and put it across.
Okay.